On the fourth play of the third quarter, one of the most memorable plays in all of Ohio State football was about to happen.
Formation. Again, Phipps going back to throw. He has time. He throws. It's intercepted by Provost, and he's going in for touchdown. Touchdown, Ohio. Provost scores.
The stadium erupted, the bench erupted. That was enough for us to win the football game.
Provost intercepted the pass on about the 30-yard line.
Hurdles from the school, when they got new ones, he got the old ones, and they sat around the lake, and he used to run around the lake, and he was just loved sports, and he was just, I don't know, I don't say it was born into him, but he really acquired it and really got good at it.
The thing that made Ted special, regardless of what he was doing, I don't care about whether it was in sports or in the classroom, he was a competitor, and he always gave it his best and tried his hardest, regardless of what it was. And like if he and I would sit down right now to play a game at Tiddlywinks, he'd do everything he could to beat me. And he still has that, I'm sure, that competitive drive.
And I think as a member of the Fairless community, Ted has done very well for himself and represented the Fairless community in just an outstanding way. And no one deserves the honor more than does Navarre's Ted Provost.
It is said that every job is a portrait of the man who does it. Whether it's a portrait of his personal life as a loving father, husband, and son, a portrait of his professional career as a home builder, or a portrait of his athletic career. Ted Provost is a man who has painted his life's portraits from a palette filled with courage, love, dignity, drive, fairness, and success. While the recipient of both national and international acclaim and achievement, Ted maintains the soul of an honest, unassuming, grounded, quiet man who has ordered a life on what is really important.
I'd also like to thank my wife. We've been married 18 years, but I'd like to tell a little story. We'd gone out about 3 times down in Columbus. We had met and gone out, and we were at I think it was a Super Bowl party or something, and everybody kept coming up and asking me to congratulate me on the interception of the Purdue game and all this stuff. And she turned to me and she says, "Who are you?" And I says, "I'm just a guy with a burning desire to get to know you."
When my husband and I, Ted Provost, were first married, he had been in the Navy, and we got married in January after he came home for a couple months, and he told me that he said we may not be able to have any children. So we got married, and he also told me, he said, if we have any children, I would like my first son to be named after Ted R. Williams, who lived in California, and they were in prison camp together. They were both legally blind, and they both helped each other, and he was one of my husband's best friends. So it was okay with me. Well, we had 3 children, so that didn't hold true that they couldn't have children. Our first child was a girl. Well, that was Sandra Lee. Well, pretty soon I was pregnant. On our 2nd anniversary, I was pregnant again, and I thought, ooh, am I going to do this every year? Well, we named him, it was Teddy. He was born on July of 1948, and so we called him Ted R. Provost. Well, my husband's name was Theodore, but we called him Ted also, so we had 2 Teds. So what we did, my husband was Ted, so we called our son Teddy. So he got Teddy. Ever since, he still gets Teddy from me.
I grew up here at 5705 Kemery Avenue here in Navarre, but this is where my first memories of everything for my athletic career and my work habits and everything were formed here on the farm. We did a lot of chores and did a lot of playing ball here in the backyard behind you here, and this is where I learned how to, probably my work ethics and everything were developed right here. Time at Fairless High School, I had a lot of good friends and a lot of good times on the basketball and the football field. Even running track, I got to the state tournament on that, and the coaching and the teaching as I went on later on in life to college was just as good as anybody else's I've ever been associated with. So from my experience here at Fairless and my home life, I couldn't ask for anything better than this.
In coaching, you try and take your best athlete and keep the ball in his hands as much as possible, and that's what I did with Ted. Made him a quarterback. He wasn't maybe a natural quarterback, but we needed him with the football to make things happen for our team, and that's what he did. And he played sophomore, junior, and senior year, and he was a great defensive back, and he could play defense and he could hit you. And another thing about Ted, he not only was good in football, he was a good basketball player, and he ran track. We ran him, and I was also the track coach. And Ted would have been the first Fairless athlete to make the state track meet, and he made it in the low hurdles, and he made it. Got to run in the horseshoe at Columbus, and he would have been the first athlete to represent Fairless in a state track meet.
Well, when Ted was in high school playing football, one of the things I remember is he was such a great athlete that the armchair coaches used to try to tell Ron Rankin, the coach, that Ted should be the quarterback, he should be a split end, he should be the running back, and Ron Rankin, the coach, said, "Hey guys, he can only play one place at a time." Ted was such a great athlete in high school, and he was such a very nice young man that everyone in school and the young people looked up to Ted.
My recruitment to Ohio State started my senior year in high school. It's probably the first time I really was considered for football. In the process was, of course, you met Coach Hayes, and probably my recognition of Coach Hayes is, I remember one time I didn't line up right and he smacked me in the head, and another time we were at halftime of a game and a couple guys fumbled and he jumped over the lineman and started swinging at the thing. These are some of the first recognitions of him, but later on it was probably one of the true important people I've met in my life, as far as your work ethic and your desire to win. And I remember one incident, we were at a game out in Seattle, Washington, with the University of Washington, and my sister was in Alaska, and Mom and Dad had gone to every game that I played in, but they couldn't make it to that one, so my sister came down, and we had the pregame meal was in the Space Needle out in Seattle, and so Woody found out that my sister was coming down, so he invited her and her friend to go to the pregame meal, which is the night before the game, to this thing, and she's never forgotten that, and it was a great experience for her. And it's one of the things I remember about Coach Hayes was how he was dedicated to his football, and nothing ever got in his way, and even press or anybody. He was one of the true things about my career at Ohio State that I always remember. Got off to a good start. I got an interception, 2 interceptions in the first game, and I got 1 in the second, and I had 3 in the third game, and I had another 1 in the fourth, so I had 7 interceptions in my first 4 games. So that was my start, and went to the national championship in 1968, and then 1969 we were probably one of the
we were probably considered one of the best teams to ever play at Ohio State, and in fact, if we wouldn't have had a stumble at the end of the season with Michigan, we would probably have been one of the top teams of the century. So it was a great experience, and coming from a small town and doing as well as I did, I think I can't ask for anything more. I graduated from Ohio State in 1969 and was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams for the 1970 season. Was in training camp with them, cleared to the last cuts, and then I got traded to the Minnesota Vikings and spent a year and a half with the Vikings. I got cut my second year, and I came back to school, finished up most of my degree, not all of it, and then in the following year I did get my degree in mechanical engineering. And this time I was contacted by the Saskatchewan Rough Riders up in the Canadian Football League, and they asked me if I was interested in playing more. And I said, sure, if everything works out. And so I got my signed my papers to go up to Canada, and got all the paperwork done, and went up there and played for 5 years with Saskatchewan Rough Riders. During my time in Canada was probably one of the most enjoyable part of playing football. One of the reasons is probably because you didn't have the school thing, but I had my degree in engineering, but during my time in Canada, I bought some houses and fixed them up, and got into the remodel business and got into the construction business, and that's what I'm doing today. So not only did I enjoy playing football in Canada and the great people that I was involved with, but it's probably where I started my career and what I'm doing now. So I think that was probably one of the most intriguing experiences I had in my whole football career was my time in Canada.
During his amateur and professional careers, Ted became one of Fairless's best, most decorated athletes. Ted currently owns and operates Ted Provost Builders in Columbus, Ohio. Ted's family includes his wife Ruth, daughter Molly, and sons Michael and Doug. Michael's friend Sam has been a part of the family since his junior year in high school.
So to Ruth and to Michael and to Doug and to Molly, the only people your dad, your husband ever deceived were opposing quarterbacks. The only people your dad and husband ever bloodied were opposing running backs. And the only people your dad and husband ever terrorized were receivers like me who dared come into his territory. Your dad and your husband befriended everybody, and everybody wanted to be Ted's friend.
As far as my career in football and everything, relating it back to my upbringing in the bar on the farm, in my career today, I know that the hard work you put in on the farm, sometimes you just couldn't call it quits at the end of the day. You had to get the job done. So I think being able to do that and knowing how to work and how to get around everything and everything you had to get done, you know, football's that way, and the business I'm in today is very similar to that. So my upbringing in the bar sure has been a very positive thing in my life. So.